health fans. Dr. Peter Glidden back in the saddle here. Monday, November 26th, 2012. Counting down till the end of time on December 22nd, or so they say. Well, just got back from a vacation, much needed vacation in the sunny southern parts of the world. Had a great time down in Mexico. However, on the last 3 days of the trip, I was visited by an old Mexican friend of mine, Montezuma. That's right. Dr. Glidden drank the water. I don't know what I drank, man. I did something. And I was not happy. Got a fever, got chills, got diarrhea, got a little nausea. You know how it goes. And it made me think about a lot of things, but specifically one of the things that it made me think about was the false notion that we have here and that we've been laboring under since Louis Pasteur was around about the myth of bacteria. Now, what do you mean, Dr. Glidden, the myth of the bacteria? You telling me bacteria don't exist? No, I'm not telling you that bacteria don't exist. But if it was the little bug that was the single sole and only cause of Montezuma's revenge, then everybody in Mexico would have it all of the time. Right? I mean, if it's the bug, if it's nuclear radiation that causes, your hair to fall out and you to get nauseous and then die, nuclear, radiation exposure, then everybody that's exposed to radiation will get the same symptoms, and they do. If everybody who is shot in the heart by a bullet dies because the heart's destroyed by the bullet, well, then it's the bullet that's the cause, right? Right. But we're used to thinking about bacteria and microbes in backwards fashion, and it's the pharmaceutical companies that have tricked us into thinking like this. It may interest you to understand that in Louis Pasteur's day, Louis Pasteur, by the way, was the physician who, discovered microbes and their effects on living biological systems, and there was a heated debate in Pasteur's time. Much like the nature-nurture debate that exists even today in psychological circles. Is it the child or is it the upbringing of the child that determines the child's personality? What is it? Is it nature or is it nurture? What is it? Well, in Louis Pasteur's time, there was a raging debate. Is it the bug or is it the environment of the body? And there was a French physician named Beauchamp, and he was in direct opposition to Pasteur. Beauchamp argued that it was the terrain of the body, it was the environment of the body that was of maximum importance, because if the body was at a certain level of health, then it could deal with the microbial effect, the negative effects of the microbe. Pasteur denied it all along and said, no, it's the bug, it's the bug, it's the bug. And then on his deathbed, Pasteur recanted and said the terrain is everything. But the pharmaceutical companies swept that little tidbit of information immediately under the rug and went off on this half-cocked kill the bug campaign that we've been dealing with for the last, 100 years. Kill the bug, antibiotics, miracle drugs. First it was penicillin, and then it's broad-spectrum antibiotics, and now we've got things like MRSA and these crazy bugs that, are antibiotic resistant. And why is this? Because we've gone about it in a backwards manner. Why have we gone about it in a backwards manner? Because we trust the MDs. And remember, the MDs are colorblind art critics. The MDs are like colorblind art critics. The MDs only know a small piece of the pie of medical science. And to make matters worse, they interpret what they see through a lens. It's called reductionism. They interpret everything that they see before them through this reductionistic lens, so everything is colored. All of their perceptions of nature and of the relationship between the human body and disease is completely colored by their a priori pre-existing prejudice that they're not even aware of. And this is the problem. They're blind to their own prejudice. And because all of their colleagues share the same prejudice, Nobody knows that they're blind. It's like, it's a ship of fools. The MD community is by and large a ship of fools, and every once in a while they pull a rabbit out of their hat, and what they're good at, remember, where they get a success and then they all rally around the fire boys and pat themselves on the back and feel good about themselves because they come up with a new surgical technique which, can be effective, and surgery is their domain. Trauma care is their domain, and they're great at it. They're really, really good at it, but for everything else, they're the leading cause of death. Their therapeutics are the leading cause of death, and it's because of them that we're dying of cancer. It's because of them that we're getting sicker and sicker. It's because of them that 1 out of 80 of our kids are now born autistic. Actually, I think it's more. I think it's 1 out of 50. But, it all goes back to your perspective, and because this is such an overarching, megalithic juggernaut of monopoly that we've been experiencing here in the United States for the last 100 years. It's all MD all the time. We've become completely coerced and convinced and brainwashed into their worldview. And, this whole Montezuma thing is a perfect example. If it was the bug, that in fact was the problem, and everybody in Mexico would have Montezuma's revenge every day, and, everybody would be dead by now. But it's not the bug, because if it was the bug, then everybody would be dead. It's radiation. Everybody that's exposed to it, it's the problem. If it's a bullet, everybody that's shot, it's a problem. But the bug is only a problem for certain people. Why is it only a problem? Why is it a problem for me and not for, the Mexican guy, the chef at the Mexican restaurant? Why is it not a problem for him? Why is it not a problem for anybody in his family? Because their body has learned to adapt to the presence of the bug. The terrain of their body has figured it out. They have adapted to the environmental predicament that they find themselves in. And instead of trying to figure out how the terrain of the body adapts to these microorganisms, we've been on a campaign to kill them. Instead of trying to figure out what the deal is, the problem with the Muslim nations, we try to kill them. Instead of trying to figure out what is the problem with all this communist stuff, we try to kill them. And, politics aside, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck we were doing in Vietnam. It was supposed to be a fight against communism, save the world from communism, right? Oh, really? Is that why my brothers and sisters died in Vietnam? Is that why there was so much massive human suffering? To save the West from communism? Oh, I guess the reason that China, the largest communist nation in the world, owns most of the United States now and owns most of our debt, I guess that's okay. That's okay. But, the Vietnamese communists, so that must have been different. It's just a lot of political hogwash. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a prison planet. Alex Jones has gotten it completely correct. It is a prison planet. When somebody in power tells you to go left, you should go right. When a medical doctor tells you to stop eating salt, you should eat as much salt as you possibly can. When a medical doctor tells you to lower your cholesterol, you should eat as much cholesterol as is possible. When a medical doctor tells you to exercise regularly, you should lie down on your bed and not blink an eyelash. They have gotten it completely backwards. And we have been lulled into their sense of reality. We have been enrolled into their sense of reality for the last 100 years to such a large extent that we have gotten completely comfortable with medical mediocrity. We have. You see, I see it all the time. I was looking around when I was down there in Mexico at everybody hanging out around the pool, and most of the people that I saw who, weren't in their 20s didn't look that great. Everybody's overweight, number one. Number two, everybody's got, bad skin and varicose veins popping out and big blotches and eczema and psoriasis and no hair or gray hair, and it's bad. I mean, it is bad, man. It is bad, and because it happens to everybody, we just accept it as the norm. But the only reason that it happens to everybody is because everybody's taking the advice of the crazy doctor, the MD. The only reason that everybody is sick is because everybody goes to MDs. The only reason that there is so much autism is because we take the advice of MDs. The only reason that our health suffers as much as it does with every illness known to man, which is getting worse and worse, is because we rely on the MDs. We need our heads examined. Now we're the ship of fools. We're on the ship of fools. And it's the fools that are piloting the ship, telling us what to do, and everybody's crazy and nobody knows it. And every once in a while they pull a surgical rabbit out of their hat, and then we all applaud and genuflect on their altar. The only time you should ever go to an MD is if you have a surgical problem, or if you have a nasty infection that has not resolved through alternative holistic methods. Those are the only times. If you're bleeding to death, have a bullet in your arm or third-degree burn, some type of trauma to your body, those guys are pretty good at it, but have them blood checked, have them drug tested before you let them come close to you with a scalpel, because according to Harvard University, 52% of emergency room medical doctors are addicted to street drugs, alcohol, or prescription meds. 52%, and they still have jobs. This is what happens when you monopolize an industry. We're in the thick of it, ladies and gentlemen, and we need to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We need to align ourselves with holistic, science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, because that's the stuff that's going to support and promote the body's ability to fix itself. It's not drugs. Drugs are not evil, but they're not going to fix the problem. They're going to manage your health into mediocrity and death. Just look at the cancer rates. J.R. Ewing, right? Dead from cancer. You think that guy had more money than God? If they couldn't fix him, you think they can fix you? If they couldn't fix Steve Jobs, you think they can fix you? No, they can't. Fire your MD now. Stop seeing them. Take your vitamins, change your diet, and get back your health. Captain of our fairy band, Helena, is here at hand, and the youth mistook by me, pleading for a lover's fee. Shall we their fond pageant see? Lord, what fools these mortals be. A Midsummer Night's Dream, one of Shakespeare's more famous quotes, Lord, what fools these mortals be. What is it going to take for us to snap out of it and wake up? Now, you can, in fact, teach an old dog new tricks. However, you don't know what you don't know. And what we do know is that our state of health is bad. What we do know is that we're taking prescription medicines to pee, prescription medicines not to pee, prescription medicines to sleep, prescription medicines to wake up. We're overweight, we've got high blood pressure, we've got heartburn, we've got arthritis. It's getting worse and worse every year. We know if something's not right, but most of us have no idea that there do, in fact, exist alternatives to drugs and surgery. That's why this radio program exists. If you have friends or family or church members or community members that are suffering with a health condition, it is your responsibility, it is your duty, it is your obligation to get them to tune in. Show them the light. That's what we do here, folks. We drag people into the light of medical nutrition, and we're all in this together. We need your help. So take a walk on the wild side. Go to GCNlive.com and download the little app for this podcast. Put it on your Android. Stick it on your computer somewhere and email it to everybody in your list. Put it up on Facebook. Do something. Take action. Spread the word. We are here to make a difference, but we can't do it alone. I can only reach the people who listen, and I need you to bring in more listeners. 866-582-9933 is the number to call in, 866-582-9933. We're going to the phones right now. It looks like Ray is calling in with a question, I think, about hemorrhagic anemia. Welcome aboard, Ray. You are live.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc. That's what I'm calling about. I have a friend that has that, and they're talking about taking her spleen, and so I was just wondering what your thoughts on that were.
Well, do they know what's causing it? Hemorrhagic anemia, by the way, folks, is blood loss, red blood cell loss due to bleeding, excessive bleeding somewhere. Most people that suffer from hemorrhagic anemia, they're like soldiers. They get their leg blown off. They get a bullet in their arm or something, you know. So do you know what the cause of this was with your friend?
Okay, yeah, they think it was her son was the carrier, and they're just calling it a parvovirus.
So she got a parvovirus, and because of the parvovirus, there's damage to some part of her body, and she can't stop bleeding. Is that what's going on?
Yes, exactly.
And was it the spleen that was damaged?
No, they're just saying that they put her on steroids, and the blood count went up, and now they're saying that because the spleen filters the blood, that they have to remove the spleen.
Well, this gets a little complicated, so you're going to want to have her call me. And so she can talk to me specifically about this. I need a little bit more information before I can move forward here. But look, here's the deal. What we do with weird stuff, and this sounds to me like it's a weird thing, right? What we do with weird stuff is we clean up the diet, and we give all of the medical nutrition necessary to support and promote the human body with a little bit extra for, if it's a spleen problem or if it's a liver problem or if it's a kidney problem or whatever, and that's how we do it. So the first thing that I would say, you can call her up right now and tell her, here's what Dr. Glidden recommends to support and promote the health of your body. 1 healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, 1 bottle of Ultimate Selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, and complete abstinence from the 10 bad foods. She can start with that, and then she needs to call me and give me more of a heads up on what's going on here. And listen, you can never unsurgery something. So unless it is in fact a medical emergency where somebody is in fact bleeding to death, or where, there's threatening heart failure, right? There's a bullet in your arm, or there's an arrow sticking out of your chest, something like this. Unless it's an emergency, always use surgery as the last resort, not the first resort. And just keep in mind that the MDs, being trained how they are trained, don't know there's anything else to do than what they've been trained in. This is the biggest problem that they have. They're all full of themselves, and they have no idea that there are alternatives that do exist. So tell her to check that out, the Healthy Start Pack, the selenium in the diet, and have her call me back, Ray. I'm happy to help, and thank you for taking a walk on the wild side, for telling your friend about this program. So I'm flying back from Mexico, and I'm on the plane, and there's an autistic kid, probably 8, 9 years old, on the plane, right? Autistic child. Seems like was a relatively well-behaved child. I get up halfway through the flight to use the men's room, and I'm walking back to the men's room. I pass his seat. He's eating a McDonald's hamburger with the bun and drinking a Coca-Cola. He's about 9 years old, and he's autistic. I wanted to wring his parents' neck. This is the thing. Now, from our point of view, why does autism happen? Autism happens. Why are autism rates skyrocketing? The MDs will tell you it's gene, because that's their scapegoat for their stupidity. Well, if they can't figure it out, it has to be your fault, not their fault, so it's got to be your gene that's causing the problem. This doesn't even make sense from an evolutionary point of view, or in a species adaptation point of view, because if it was in fact genetic, then there should be less and less and less of it every year, not more and more and more of it. So the very fact that there is more and more and more of it argues against the whole gene thing, right? Right. You can't have it both ways, folks. You can't be a Republican and a Democrat. You can't be a communist and, support democracy. You can't do it. It's black or white. Which one is it? Make a choice. MDs don't. They move the goalposts all the time because they're cowards. They have no intellectual ground upon which to stand, and their hubris is legendary. So rather than just taking it, sitting up and saying, we screwed up, we were wrong, they blame you. So while the MDs are, looking for the autism gene, the same way they're looking for the breast cancer gene, which we talked about a couple weeks ago on the show, they completely overlook the obvious. Why is there so much autism? Because for the last 40 years there's been a 65% increase in the amount of grain consumption that teenagers eat. The average teenager has 6 bowls of cereal a day. 6 bowls of cereal a day. That's whole wheat grains. So that's got to be good for you, Dr. Glidden. Isn't whole wheat the best thing since sliced bread? Oh, whole wheat is sliced bread. No, it's the worst thing you can eat. Why? Because the gluten protein in the whole grain does not digest. Gluten is the protein in grain. If you cut your finger off and swallowed it, the acid in your stomach would digest your finger down to the bone in about 20 minutes. And then the bone would be digested in about an hour after that. The stomach acid is extremely strong. But if you swallowed a concentrated, ping pong ball size of gluten, even if it was a jelly bean size lump of gluten, it would sit in your stomach for days. It does not dissolve. Stomach acid doesn't do anything to it. It doesn't do anything to it. So what happens when you eat whole grains? Well, the gluten that's in the whole grain gums up your intestinal tracts and destroys the tissue in the small intestine that absorbs nutrients. So, the more whole grain that you eat, the less easy it is for your body to absorb nutrition from the food. Now, the food doesn't have the nutrition that you need anyway. So, now the food that you're eating disallows your body from absorbing what little nutrients there are there anyway. And so you're screwed. So even if you do get pregnant, the body does not have the ability to maintain the pregnancy, so there are spontaneous abortions left, right, and all around. And if by some stroke of miraculous something, you're able to actually have a viable embryo, it turns into a fetus, it turns into a child, it is developing in an undernutrified womb, and so the central nervous system doesn't develop properly, and the child is born autistic. And that's why there's an autistic spectrum. There are some kids that are just a little bit autistic, and there are some kids that are really, really autistic. It's because of different nutritional statuses at different times of the pregnancy. It has to be that. That's what we think is the cause of it. It's whole grain consumption, right? And so the parents are giving this child exactly the same stuff that caused the problem to begin with, and they're going to hell in a handbasket. And they don't know it. And nobody around them knows it. And we're giving millions of dollars to the drug companies to find a cure for autism, and we need our heads examined. Ladies and gentlemen, you are taking your bodies to the wrong people if you are suffering with a chronic illness and you go to an MD. They are the wrong dog for the hunt. It's a fool's errand to go to see them for anything except an acute, traumatic illness, a traumatic illness or a nasty infection that has, in fact, not resolved due to holistic or medical nutrition problems. We see cures of bronchitis and ear infections and pneumonia, influenza with natural holistic treatments all of the time. I've needed to prescribe drugs less than 10 times in over 20 years of clinical work. Less than 10 times. I want you to think about that. Now, how many times have you taken drugs in your life? I bet it's more than 10 times. Well, maybe if this listening audience, I don't really have my fingers on the pulse of the demographic that I'm reaching here. I think I'm probably preaching to the choir, but nonetheless, you don't know what you don't know, and we need your help to spread this message. We really do. I want to really step up the ball game here, moving through the Christmas holiday and then into 2013. We're going to have a bunch of new tools that you can use, a brand new website with all of the archived shows. You're just going to be able to click in fibromyalgia and bring up the segment that I spoke about, fibromyalgia or whatever. We're using this radio show as a leveraging tool to bring more and more people into the light of medical nutrition. And if we all work together through the power of the Internet, through the power of social networking, through the power of holding hands and lifting each other up, through the power grassroots, we can change all of these crazy health statistics. We can, in fact, make a difference. I have a very powerful friend in Missouri. He owns one of the largest laboratories in the United States. He's a really great guy. He's an Irish guy. And he developed type 2 diabetes. And 4 weeks after he started our nutritional program, the type 2 diabetes was gone. A friend of his worked on Obama's cabinet. I forget what position he had. I can't remember. I had this conversation with him 2 years ago. In any event, he called his buddy at the White House and said, you won't believe it. I just recovered from type 2 diabetes. I had it before. I went on this nutritional program, and now it's gone. I can't believe it. I feel better than I felt my entire life. What do you think about that? His buddy said, wait a minute, let me crunch some numbers. He pulled up his computer and he said, well, if everybody in the United States who now has type 2 diabetes could do what you just did, we could balance the federal budget in 1 year. That's how much health care is a burden to our economy. And, they always talk about health care dollars like this. Oh, it's such a burden to the economy. Well, it is, but who is it a profit to? The doctors. The insurance company owners, the drug company owners, they're profiting from it. They never talk about it like that. They never say, the medical industry just profited $20 gazillion trillion this year. They always say, health care is weighing down the economy. It's a big burden to the economy. Yeah, all right. It is, but the other side to that coin, ladies and gentlemen, is that the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors are getting sick on the back of your suffering. Larry Hagman just died of cancer. Larry Hagman, JR, right? Before that, he was the guy on, what was it, I Dream of Jeannie or something else? I can't remember. I'm dating myself anyway. But, all of our icons are dying. They're dying. And when we hear that, Larry Hagman put up a valiant fight for cancer, that's how we frame it. That's how the media frames it for us. We don't even have to frame it. They do it for us. Larry Hagman just dies after putting up a valiant battle for cancer. He didn't put up a valiant battle for cancer. He did what the MDs did, and they killed him. What they should have said is another cancer death. We really need to consider why we're giving research money to the MDs, because they are horrible at what they do. Another victim of cancer. Another victim of modern medical incompetence. That's what they should say, because that's what it is. But they won't say it because the pharmaceutical industries own the networks. They own everything. They started the Second World War, for goodness sake. You think you can fight them? You got your head in the sand, baby, if you think you can have any action at all, any effect at all against the pharmaceutical companies. You cannot. But there is one thing that you still have the ability to do. You can not use their stuff. It's a free country. Obamacare is going to kick in about a year, and then it's going to be mandatory that you buy medical insurance. It's going to be mandatory in the United States. Isn't that just great? It is going to be mandatory here in the United States for you to buy medical insurance that gives you access to the largest killer of people in the United States, the MDs, which gives you access to an entire medical profession which is completely incompetent. It's going to grant you access, mandatory. You have to buy a ticket to this ball game, and it's going to be the worst ball game you've ever seen in your life, and you're going to have to sit through it and take it. They're going to make you buy medical insurance that gives you access to the system of medicine that has consistently failed in helping us to recover our health, and which has parenthetically become the leading cause of death in the United States. What I'm recommending people do is just pay the damn fine. Well, actually, what I'm recommending you do is you cancel your comprehensive medical insurance, instead buy catastrophic insurance. Buy catastrophic insurance. Insurance that will cover you for major medical stuff, right? You're in a car accident, heaven forbid. A drunk driver T-bones you. You break your leg skiing, whatever. If you do need to use emergency medical service because you have in fact suffered an acute trauma to your body, unless you have medical insurance, you could be bankrupted by that. I mean, you could be. I'd really have to kind of sit down and crunch these numbers. I think that for most people who are on board with medical nutrition, I think in the long run you will save money by just not having the insurance at all. I mean, why on earth would you pay for access to a system of medicine that's a leading cause of death? Because you don't know there's another way, and that's why everybody does it. So this is what we recommend, ladies and gentlemen. Don't fight City Hall. Just don't go to City Hall anymore. Just don't give them your money. Don't give them your respect. Don't give them your bodies. Don't give them the time of day. Just walk on by, baby. And instead, take one Healthy Start Pack and one Healthy Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, and one bottle of plant-derived minerals per 100 pounds of body weight per month. Eliminate the 10 deadly foods from your diet. Give that program 60 days. Give it 90 days. Give it 3 months to produce a specific, measurable, positive change in your life. And then you will be on the road to living a long and healthy life. And then, once you see the results for yourself, you can join our merry band of men and women and be catapulted into the land of financial security, surrounded by like-minded, healthy people. We are going to change the world, ladies and gentlemen, and we need your help to do it. Chris is calling with a question about dark circles under the eyes. I think, Chris, welcome aboard. You are live.
Hey, Dr. Glidden, it's Chris. Hey, I called a couple of times. This guy from Austin calling about the eczema before.
What happened?
Okay. I was just calling about something else. I just want to say one thing about the cancer deal.
Yeah.
One of the big things about if you have cancer and you die from a heart attack because of the chemotherapy or your pancreas gives out, the hospital will not say it was due to cancer because of the chemotherapy. They'll say it is because you have a heart attack to keep their numbers low because of the cancer treatments.
So I know, it's crazy, man. It is 100% scandalous, and we let them get away with it all the time. I'm going to do a whole week on cancer sometime in January, so stay tuned. I appreciate the feedback.
I got one thing. I'm going to kind of lead up to my first question. I got two questions. We did go to, my wife insisted on going to a naturopath because she's not getting pregnant as quickly as she wants to. I will say I will never go to an MD again. We were there for 5 hours.
Yeah. At the naturopath's office?
Oh, yeah.
So was that a good thing?
It was a good thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go on because I was kind of curious what kind of questions they asked and all that. I was just more curious on that front. But towards the end there, she said that she might have some liver problems, and I said, well, what makes you say that? Because of dark circles under her eyes. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, what connection does the liver have to that? And let me get to my other question, too. Gallstones are caused by improper cholesterol metabolism in the liver. What's the main reason for that? So those are my two things.
All right. Well, great, man. First of all, I just want to give you a heads up that Dr. Wallach has gotten more women pregnant than anybody in North America. And it's true. I've met a lot of women who've come to longevity seminars, and they follow Doc's nutritional program, just the simple 90 essential nutrients, the Healthy Start Pack, and the diet change. And within 3 months, once their bodies are nutritionally satisfied and firing on all 16 cylinders, they get pregnant. Why? Because they can. So what we recommend for people is just the basic diet and the Healthy Start Pack for a couple of months, and then try to get pregnant, and life is good. Now, gallstones are formed by improper cholesterol metabolism. That's correct. The gallbladder's job is to collect and concentrate gall, which is made from cholesterol, and if the liver is slipping up on its job, if the liver is not doing its production of gall efficiently, then it makes funky gall, which turns into gallstones, and the best way to support and promote the health of the liver in the face of that is to give more selenium. Selenium is to the liver what calcium is to the bones. Most naturopathic doctors do not know that. I learned that from Dr. Wallach, and since I've been using selenium supplementation with my patients who have gallstones, it's made all the difference in the world. Another interesting thing that can cause that is simple dehydration. So you want to look to see how much water she's consuming every day and how much water she's peeing out, and she should be having more water going in than is coming out every day. It could be a simple thing as just not enough hydration in the body. However, one of the most common causes of dark circles under the eyes, it can be a liver problem, but most of the time it's caused by a food allergy. You're allergic to something that you're eating. You're allergic to something that you're eating. It's one of the classical, it's called a pathognomonic sign and symptom of a food allergy is chronic, consistent dark circles under your eyes. So if there is a persistent dark circle thing going on under the eyes, I would look to the food stuff first, and the first thing that I would do in that domain is have your wife eliminate the 10 bad foods. Just have her stop eating the 10 bad foods, because the wheat, barley, rye, and oats that are on that list, those are 4 of the top biggest allergic foods that there are, and see how that makes a difference. There's also a lab in the U.S. called U.S. Biotech that does a good job at screening for food allergies. Ask your local naturopath about them, U.S. Biotech. I am not a representative. I'm just a doctor telling you what I know. Thanks for calling, Chris. I appreciate your support. Keep up the good work. And remember, folks, longevity is your last best hope for a healthy, wealthy, long life. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. See you tomorrow.